Okay, so statistics is, that's how statistics affects your life. What is statistics and the goal? What do we want to do? What are we trying to do by learning all this stuff and looking at all the data? What are we trying to do? Can anybody tell me what the end result, the desired result is from statistics?
To optimize.
Optimize is one thing, okay. What else? Anybody? Lauren, any guess?
To like come to conclusions about different groups.
Yes, and by doing so, I can do what? I can predict what that group is going to do, what that stock is going to do. I can predict how this company is going to do what. I can predict. So you're trying to make predictions. You are trying to look at all these data and then actually make inferences about that population and therefore doing something to that population, okay? That's what statistics is about, is trying to predict the future, predict how the people are going to react, okay? All right? So that's what statistics is all about. So let's go to page 2 of your book. There's a green box there that says, statistics is the science and art of collecting, analyzing, and drawing conclusions from that data, okay? Inference, drawing conclusions, okay, all right? Okay, so organizing, so let's go to page 3. On top of page 3, there is a green box that defines individual and variable. An individual is an object described in a set of data. Individuals can be people, animals, or things, right? Okay. A variable is an attribute that can take different values for different individuals. So let's say we did I don't know, a random survey of people in Blanchette, okay? And we asked them the question of, how many pets do you have? Okay. So can anybody tell me in this survey, what is the individual? Caden.
Students.
Huh? Students? Did you hear students? Somebody say students? Be a little more specific. Yeah. What students?
Oh, Blanchette students.
Blanchette students, correct. So Blanchette students would be the individual. What is the variable here? The variable is how many pets you own, correct? How many pets do you own, right? The number of pets that you own would be the variable, right? Okay. So in the middle of page 3, there's a green box that defines categorical variable and quantitative variable. Okay, so this is a very important thing. So you have categorical variable, and then you have a quantitative variable. Okay, the categorical variable is something like, what's the color of your hair? What's the color of your eyes? What's your favorite rock? What's your favorite radio station? So something that you would answer. So all these answers include what? Like a color, you know, name of a radio station, something that has to do with numbers, right? Something that has to do with numbers, right? That does not have to do with numbers. It's categorical variable. A quantitative variable is something that has a number associated with it. So what do you weigh? How tall are you? Number of pets you own? These type of things would all be quantitative variables. Okay, so let's read the definition there. Categorical variable assigns labels that place each individual into a particular group called a category, right? I have black hair. I have brown hair. Or if you're like me, I have no hair, right? Then there is the quantitative variables, takes number values that are quantities, counts, or measurements. Okay? Right underneath there is a big red dot there. It says what? Not every variable that takes number values is quantitative. Okay? So if I ask you what zip code you live in, okay? And I collect, oh, you have a 97302, I have a 97305, 97301, whatever it may be, okay? So even though that's a number, the number itself really doesn't have a meaning. In other words, if I were to average those out of your zip codes and say, okay, on the average, the students in my class, in this class, live in the zip code 97305.3. Does that make any sense? Does that have any meaning? It really doesn't, right? So in other words, this, even though it is a number, this is a categorical variable, okay? All right. Can anybody give me another example where a number is not a quantitative variable? Can anybody think of anything?
The area code for a phone number?
Phone number. How about your phone number, right? How about the last digit of your phone number? Last digit of your phone number. If I did a survey and I asked what 10 of you guys, what is the last digit of your number? And I come up with an average of, I don't know, 5.5. Does that mean anything? It does not, right? It's because so the last digit of your phone number would be considered a categorical variable, even though it is a number, okay? All right, census at school. Census at school. Braden, read it for me.
Problem. Census at School is an international project that collects data about primary and secondary school students using surveys. Hundreds of thousands of students from Australia, Canada, Ireland, Japan, New Zealand, South Africa, South Korea, the United Kingdom, and the United States have taken part in the project. Data from the surveys are available online. We used the site's random data selector to choose 10 Canadian students who completed the survey in a recent year. The table displays the data.
Okay, flip the page. Thank you, Braden. So if you look here, there's a province that they live in. Saskatchewan, Ontario, Alberta, Nunavut, and whatever it may be. And then there are the gender, there's the number of language spoken, blah, 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 whatever. A, identify the individuals in the data set. So the individuals on the data set is what? The people that actually took the survey, right? Who are they? They are 10 randomly selected Canadian students, okay, who participated in that survey, okay? B, what are the variables? The number of the variables are on top, right? Classify each as a categorical or quantitative. Province, is that categorical or quantitative? Yell it out.
Category.
Categorical. So is gender, right? What about number of languages spoken?
Quantitative.
That would be a quantitative run, right? Because if I average it out, that would have some sort of meaning. So I can say that on the average, these kids speak 2.25 languages, right? So that has a meaning, right? So it would be quantitative, right? Okay. Handedness, right or left, okay, that is a categorical variable. Height and wrist circumference would both be quantitative because you're actually measuring it and you'll find a number. Okay. Preferred communication, okay, that also is a categorical variable. Okay. Going down, now we're talking about analyzing the data. If you know about analyzing the data, on the very bottom, there's a green box that defines distribution. The distribution of a variable tells us what values the variable takes and how often it takes those values. Okay? So if you look on top of page 8, you have a bar graph there. Right? What's next to the bar graph? What is that called? Can anybody tell me what that's called? B. What is that called? What kind of graph is that?
A dot plot.
The dot plot, right? So every time you get that, you just put a dot there, right? It's called a dot plot. Okay, all right. So these are both, so the B, the dot plot of number of values, languages spoken, that is a quantitative or categorical variable.
Categorical.
It's what?
Categorical.
It is quantitative, right? It is quantitative.
Never mind.
The preferred communications, on the other hand, would be categorical because there's a category associated with it. Okay, so let's go ahead and flip the page. From data analysis to inference. Okay, let's see if there's anything that's interesting here. Okay, all right, we're all good. All right, so we're done with the introduction. So let's go back to page 2. Go back to page 2. If you go at the very top of page 2, there is an orange box that says learning targets. Okay, this is what we're supposed to know, or we need to come out of this section knowing well. Okay, so the learning targets. So this is something you could use when you're studying for your test to make sure you understand the big concepts or whatever, right? So the first one is what? Identify the individuals and variables in a set of data. And the second one is classify the variables as categorical or quantitative. This whole book is structured as quantitative or categorical. So we'll talk about both instances in every single type of example that we'll look at throughout the book. So throughout the book is divided into when it's categorical variables, we're gonna do this. When it is quantitative, we will do this, okay? So that's what we'll talk about for the entire book. So everybody understood the 2 learning targets there? Are any questions that I need to answer as far as the learning targets? Okay, so we are done for today. As far as me teaching you,